A gift too great. The grand hall of the Galaxy Council shimmered under the soft blue glow of the skylumen orbs, each one suspended like a star in the high vaulted ceiling. Delegates from over 1,000 star systems murmured among themselves, the chorus of alien voices blending into a constant hum of tension, protocol, and ambition. At the rear of the hall, the Earth delegation stood quietly. Ambassador Rena Torres adjusted her collar, conscious of the way her human skin stood out in a room full of exoskeletal glints and bioluminescent shimmer. On her left, Colonel Jack Halvorsen, tall and broad-shouldered in a navy blue uniform, surveyed the chamber with a soldier's instinct. Two aides flanked them, one typing on a holographic console, the other nervously wringing their hands. Torres didn't like the silence. Earth rarely made noise in this place, but today felt different. The speaker platform lit up as High Chancellor Uravex, a willowy Trivathai whose 3 eyes scanned in all directions, took the floor. Her voice resonated through the council's auditory field. "This budget," she said, "marks a turning point in our collective defense. We must not only rebuild what was lost in the Dalekar incursion, but also prepare for what lies ahead." Lights blinked across the chamber as sectors cast their votes on energy reallocation, border aid, and infrastructure funding. It was all routine until the final item appeared on the screen. Line 943, B11. Mark 7 Stellar Dreadnought to be granted to the Terran Protectorate, United States of Earth. For a moment, time seemed to pause. Rena blinked, then turned to her aide. "That can't be right." Halvorsen straightened. "They're giving us a dreadnought. A top-line warship," the aide whispered. "Faster than light, slipstream. Planetary defense grid. It can take on an entire armada by itself." The murmurs in the chamber turned into a roar. Delegates were standing, protesting. A Marditi ambassador shrieked that the Terrans were barely off their own planet and couldn't be trusted with a warship that could level a moon. Another called it an insult to thousands of years of galactic balance. Rena stepped forward, microphone active. "We were never consulted about this. If this is meant to provoke." But the High Chancellor raised a hand. "The budget has been passed. This item was approved by the Security Council with a majority vote." Her voice was calm, but her third eye twitched, an involuntary sign of unease. Rena glanced at Halvorsen. "This doesn't make sense. Why would they give us something this powerful?" Halvorsen's jaw was clenched. "Maybe because they need a wild card. Or maybe someone wants to see what we'll do with it." And then the lights went out. For half a second, silence returned to the chamber, but it was a deeper, darker silence, filled with the electric buzz of something going terribly wrong. Then the skylumen orbs flickered red, emergency lighting casting the council chamber in a crimson hue. Security drones dropped from the ceiling, but didn't activate. Instead, they hovered, inert like puppets with their strings cut. Rena heard the sound of bodies slumping, wet thuds and metallic clinks. She turned just in time to see the Andarax delegate fall forward, eyes vacant. All across the hall, members of the council were collapsing in their seats. "Neural hijack," Halvorsen said, pulling a sidearm from under his coat. "We've been locked in. Who the hell hijacks the Galaxy Council?" Rena whispered, backing toward the Earth delegation. And then one of the counselors, Counselor Jalev, a diplomat from the peaceful Shireen Confederacy, rose unnaturally. His movements were jerky, puppet-like. His face twitched, eyes rolling back before glowing red. Through his mouth came a voice that did not belong to him. "This weapon cannot be given to humanity." Rena's blood ran cold. "You are dangerous. You are impulsive. You are not ready. This was our last warning. You were never meant to ascend so quickly." The other collapsed counselors began to stir, controlled, reanimated by something external, something malicious. Each one stood, eyes glowing. "This council is no longer in session," the voice said. "The Sathari Accord has assumed control." The name hit Rena like a punch. The Sathari Accord had been dissolved a century ago after a failed coup. A group of ultra-conservative species terrified of technological and cultural contamination, obsessed with maintaining a pure galactic order. Apparently, they weren't gone. They'd just been waiting. Halvorsen stepped forward, weapon ready, shielding Rena with his body. Ambassador, if they're willing to hijack the whole damn council over a ship, they're not stopping here. Rena's voice was low, but steady. Then we make them regret ever trying. All around them, the galaxy's greatest alliance crumbled into chaos. And in the center of it, Earth stood, for the first time, not as a child seeking permission, but as a power holding the future in its hands. False diplomacy. The crimson emergency lights still pulsed overhead, bathing the chamber in a warlike glow. Every second felt stretched, like time itself held its breath. Ambassador Rena Torres crouched behind the overturned podium, heart hammering against her ribs like it wanted to escape. Across the chamber, the once elegant representatives of the Galaxy Council now moved with unnatural unity. Their limbs twitched, their heads jerked, and their glowing red eyes scanned the room with mechanical menace. Hijack minds, stolen bodies. It was a nightmare stitched together from the darkest parts of every species' folklore. One of them, Counselor Jalev's hijacked form, spoke again. His voice echoed unnaturally, distorted like a transmission pulled through static. You were warned, time and again. And yet, the Council voted to hand the most devastating warship ever built to your kind. Reckless, unpredictable, violent. Rena forced herself to stand, her hands trembling as she activated her diplomatic badge. Her voice wavered, but did not break. You are violating the Galactic Concord. This is an act of war. Jalev's head cocked to one side, smile twitching on an unfamiliar face. We are beyond your paper treaties. We are Sathari. The Accord lives. Torres's blood ran cold. The Sathari Accord. She'd read about them during her induction. Fringe species, high-tech zealots who believed civilization peaked long ago and should never have included upstarts like humanity. They saw the galaxy as a closed club, and Earth had kicked the doors open. They had gone dark after their last failed rebellion, and now they had returned by hijacking the most powerful government body in the known universe. Behind her, Colonel Halvorsen crouched low, scanning the room. His fingers worked quickly at the data jack on his wrist, trying to access the Council's internal systems. How bad? Rena whispered. He grunted. They've got a full lockdown on the chamber. Bio-auth overrides. Looks like they've hijacked the entire neural network running the security systems. Every drone, every door, even the air supply is being routed through hijacked counselors. And backup. Still locked out. External comms are jammed. No one outside this room even knows what's happening. Rena's stomach sank. That was the Sathari's plan. Silence and speed. Discredit the budget, erase the warship grant to Earth, and then disappear. All before anyone could react. She peeked over the edge of the podium. Across the room, several Earth-aligned delegates, those who had cautiously advocated for humanity, lay still, either unconscious or worse. She turned back to Halvorsen. We need to stall them. Split them, distract them. He nodded. I'll try to force a local override through one of the unmanned relay nodes. If I could trigger the emergency beacon in the old tunnel grid, it might punch through the lockdown. Rena drew a shaky breath. And while you do that, I talk. Halvorsen's face hardened. They'll know you're buying time. Then I'd better make it convincing. With a calm she didn't feel, Rena stepped out from cover and walked to the center dais, head high. Let's speak plainly then, she said, activating her voice across the chamber's audio net. You fear us. Jalev's stolen face twitched again. We fear no one. You fear our growth, our unpredictability, our refusal to fall in line. Her voice rose. You think we're dangerous because we don't play by your rules, because we survive everything, because we keep getting back up. The hijacked counselors didn't move, but a flicker passed through them. Hesitation, maybe, or the struggle of consciousness trying to surface. She pressed forward. But what truly scares you isn't what we are now. It's what we'll become, what we might evolve into given time and power. Behind her, Halvorsen slipped into the emergency access panel, fingers flying over the ancient manual relays. He winced as sparks jumped. These systems hadn't been touched in decades. But he was close. Because you know what we do better than anyone. Rena continued. We adapt. We learn. We outthink, outfight, and outlast. A pause. And now we've been offered a seat at the grown-ups table. You don't want to stop a war, do you? You want to stop the future. Jalev's red eyes flared. There will be no future for you. Then let's find out if you can kill what you can't control. At that exact moment, Halvorsen slammed a palm onto the panel. Somewhere deep in the Council's infrastructure, a silent beacon activated, a signal older than the Accord, designed to function even if the entire Council fell. Outside the chamber, the alarm blared. Doors rumbled. Lights blinked. Somewhere on the outer levels, autonomous systems began to reboot. The hijackers turned, reacting, but the delay had been enough. Halvorsen raised his weapon. Showtime. The chamber erupted into chaos. The Iron Gambit. Gunfire in the Galactic Council was unthinkable until it wasn't. The first shot cracked through the crimson silence like a lightning strike in a vacuum. Colonel Jack Halvorsen's plasma pistol barked blue light as it struck the chest of a hijacked delegate, sending the creature crashing into a dais. The hollow shell convulsed before collapsing, red glow extinguished. Around him, the once majestic council hall descended into utter pandemonium. Ambassador Rena Torres stumbled behind the cracked shield of a ruined security terminal. Her hands trembled as she held a stolen sidearm. The weapon far too heavy for someone who had spent her life in negotiation rather than combat. Sweat dripped down her neck, but she refused to cower. "We need a way out," she yelled over the chaos. "Tunnel grids open," Halvorsen called back. "Secondary maintenance shafts. I can get us to the North Spire, but we'll need to go through them." She nodded, then paused as she looked out at the carnage. Dozens of delegates, some real, some puppets, fired blindly or lay still. This wasn't just an attack. This was a message. The Sathari Accord wanted the galaxy to see the Council fail. She swallowed hard and steeled herself. "We move. Now." Halvorsen waved 2 Earth aides forward, both clutching improvised weapons and trembling with fear. He led them toward the access panel he'd cracked open moments earlier. The maintenance tunnels were narrow, dark, and smelled of ozone and metal decay. The group crawled through in silence, breath ragged, listening for pursuit. The occasional spark lit their path like dying fireflies. "I can't believe they took over the whole chamber," one aide whispered. Halvorsen answered grimly. "They didn't just take it. They prepared for this. This was coordinated. That dreadnought delivery, it triggered the final phase." Torres crawled behind them, voice tight. They knew the vote would pass, or made sure it would. A chilling realization settled between them. Someone inside the Security Council, a traitor, had approved the warship knowing it would provoke this attack. A trap wrapped in a gift. They emerged in the understructure of the Council Tower, entering a space lined with cold steel panels and blinking conduits. Halvorsen accessed a terminal, bypassed security, and brought up a local grid map. "We're here," he pointed. "If we can reach sublevel Gamma, there's an emergency control node we can hijack." Torres leaned in. "What does that get us?" "Comms. Cameras. Partial drone control. Enough to send out a broadcast and show the galaxy what's really happening." It was a gamble, but was the only chance they had. They pressed forward. Above them, the council chamber raged on. The hijacked delegates moved with brutal purpose, hurting survivors, locking terminals, erasing data. The Sathari weren't just trying to stop the warship delivery. They were trying to rewrite history, frame Earth as the aggressor, wipe the vote, and then vanish as if none of it ever happened. But they hadn't counted on human persistence. When the group reached sublevel Gamma, they found a dark room pulsing with data streams. It was quiet, too quiet. Halvorsen raised a hand, signaling everyone to stop. He motioned toward the shadows. Movement. He crept forward, weapon drawn, and turned the corner. A Sathari puppet waited. This one built from a towering reptilian frame, enhanced with mechanical augmentations. Its red eyes flared as it lunged. Halvorsen fired twice. One shot scorched the wall, the other caught the creature in the leg. But it kept coming, roaring, inhuman. It slammed him into the wall. Torres screamed. Instinct took over. She fired blindly, the gun jumping in her hands, tears in her eyes. One of the plasma rounds hit true. The side of the thing's skull burned away, and it dropped. Silence again. Torres ran to Halvorsen. Jack! Jack, are you? He groaned. Ribs. Might be broken. Doesn't matter. She helped him to the terminal, propping him up as he patched into the Council's neural network. The screen flickered. System override denied. He gritted his teeth. Not asking, damn it. Fingers dancing over the keys, he pulled ancient security protocols from the backup shell. Ones written before the Council had even known Earth existed. He entered 3 commands and leaned back. The screen blinked green. Emergency override, active. Broadcast comm link, open. You've got 60 seconds, Ambassador, he rasped. Rena took the mic, heart pounding. People of the galaxy, she began, voice echoing across every open channel. The Council has been hijacked. Your representatives are being used like meat puppets by the Sathari Accord. But this is the truth. As she spoke, the terminal displayed live footage from the chamber, violence, possession, death. The galaxy was watching now. She finished, voice trembling but defiant. We may be from Earth. We may be new to the stars. But we will not be erased. The broadcast cut as the system overheated. Halvorsen exhaled. That'll get their attention. Above them, alarms began to blare. Outside, the distant hum of incoming ships echoed through the tower walls. Reinforcements or another enemy wave. Either way, Torres stood straighter. We just lit the fire, she whispered. Let's see who burns. Lines in the void. The stars beyond the Council spire began to blur as defense platforms turned their weapons inward. Ambassador Rena Torres watched from the shattered remains of a transit lift as dozens of orbital satellites, once guardians of peace, shifted alignment with machine precision, not to face an external threat, but the very heart of galactic civilization. The Sathari weren't just here to disrupt. They intended to erase and replace. Behind her, Colonel Halvorsen groaned as he leaned against the cold alloy wall, blood soaking his uniform. His left arm hung limp, and every breath rattled in his chest. Still breathing? Rena asked, not looking back. Barely, he muttered. Remind me never to take a vacation here. They were in the transit core beneath sublevel Gamma, a hollow tunnel system used by maintenance drones and diplomats alike. The tremors of distant explosions thudded through the walls like approaching thunder. The Council Tower was becoming a battleground, and Earth was now on the front line of a war it didn't start. Their emergency broadcast had reached the outer levels. They knew it. Communications had lit up for one brief moment before jamming resumed. Enough to sow doubt. Enough to alert someone. Maybe. But it also meant the Sathari were moving faster. And deadlier. The lift next to them shook violently before opening with a mechanical hiss. Standing inside was Aliyah Soth, the Terran military liaison to the Galactic Council, a woman whose face was equal parts relief and steel. She stepped forward, flanked by 2 drone escorts and a human tech officer. We got the broadcast. You cracked it wide open, Ambassador. Her eyes dropped to Halvorsen. He's a mess. He saved us all, Rena said softly. We got a route out. A transport on the east dock waiting to break orbit. But if what we picked up on the Sathari comms is true, she hesitated. They've activated protocol blackout. Rena stiffened. She'd only heard of it in theoreticals. No witnesses. Anyone who saw the vote or lived through the hijack, they're marked for deletion. And that includes Earth. A beat passed as the weight of the words settled. Torres looked to Halvorsen, then back at Aliyah. How long until the Dreadnought transfer is finalized? 7 hours. Unless the Council formally rescinds the vote. Her voice dropped. The Sathari will do anything to make that happen. Torres nodded slowly. Then we don't run. Not yet. Aliyah frowned. We don't have the numbers to fight them. And if we die here, Earth loses its only advocate in this system. That warship is more than a ship. It's a symbol. Torres's voice was iron now. We're going to plant our flag in that symbol and dare them to come for it. She turned to Halvorsen. Can you stand? He coughed. With help. Aliyah stepped forward and pulled him up. You have a plan, Ambassador? Yes, Rena said, face grim. We go public. Fully. Open comms, system-wide. Not just a broadcast, a demand. We tell the galaxy what we know, name the Sathari agents still embedded in the Council. And then, we claim our warship. Elia's tech officer looked stunned. They'll call it a Terran coup. Let them, Torres replied. The real coup was staged hours ago. We're just stealing back the truth. They made their way to the East Tower, navigating broken corridors and fractured politics. As they walked, the story began to change. Here and there, delegates were rising from hiding, confused, waking from forced neural suppression. A Sathari agent tried to intercept them once, but this time, others joined the fight. An Andoran diplomat, a Kalari engineer, even a disillusioned Varellan archivist who had lost her mentor during the chamber assault. The galaxy was waking up. By the time Torres reached the command and broadcast tower, a dozen species stood behind her. Some carried weapons. Others carried only anger. Halvorsen dropped into a chair, his face pale. Better make it count. Torres nodded. The final panel blinked live. All channels. All systems. All stars. She spoke. To every species still loyal to the ideals of this council. Listen. The Sathari have violated our trust, corrupted our leadership, and declared war on truth. They came for us because we are new, because we are loud, because we are bold. But what they forgot is that boldness is how stars are born. She took a breath, then leaned closer. Earth will take possession of the warship as granted by the council vote. We do so not to conquer, but to defend the right of every species to choose its future. As the message rippled out into the void, across systems, across time, a single transmission echoed back. Warship transfer confirmed. United States of Earth. Designation, Iron Heart. For the first time, Torres smiled. It wasn't a smile of victory. It was one of warning. They gave us the keys, she whispered. Now we show them how we drive. Outside the spire, a massive shadow rose in low orbit. The silhouette of a ship not meant for Terran hands, but now theirs. And Earth was about to prove it deserved it. The Iron Heart awakens. Above the battered council tower, the stars flickered with anticipation. But it wasn't the stars watching, it was the galaxy. In low orbit, Earth's newly granted warship hung like a sleeping god. Designation, Iron Heart. A vessel not just born of human hands, but forged by the collective genius of 100 allied species. Built to balance power, meant to defend peace. And now it answered only to one flag. In the eastern docking corridor of the transfer ring, Ambassador Rena Torres stood facing the ship's towering entry hatch. Its steel plates shimmered with an unnatural stillness, every sensor and panel waiting for final biometric confirmation. Behind her, Colonel Halvorsen, patched up and pale, leaned heavily on a cane. Beside him were surviving Earth aides, bruised but alive. And more than just humans now, allies. The beings who had believed Earth's message. The ones who chose to fight beside it. From a handheld terminal, Rena's voice cut through the heavy silence. Council vote confirmed. Transfer authorized. Command delegation, United States of Earth. Primary custodian, Torres, Rena. Diplomatic authority, level 7. A second passed. Then the ship answered. With a deep thrum that seemed to vibrate across dimensions, the Iron Heart opened. Its entry gate split like a blooming flower, revealing a long corridor lit by radiant white lights, humming with life. The air inside smelled sterile, new, and used. Halvorsen let out a low whistle. I expected it to be more militarized. Rena stepped forward, her voice low. It doesn't have to look like a weapon to be one. As they entered, the lights pulsed in sequence, recognizing them, welcoming them. The bridge was vast, 3 stories high, designed for multi-species collaboration. Every console shimmered with intelligent UI, adaptable to any physiology. But now they were silent, Dim. Ship AI is dormant, said Elia Soth, who had rejoined them. Standard until a first command imprint is complete. Rena approached the central dais. A silver orb rose from the floor, pulsing gently. She placed her palm on it. Activate primary systems. Recognize Earth's authority. You are the Iron Heart, and this is your moment." The ship responded with a low, melodic tone, like a heartbeat echoing in a chamber of steel. Across the bridge, consoles flickered to life. Screens lit up with maps, orbitals, threat assessments. The ship began running a full scan of the planetary defense network. And it was just in time, because outside, the enemy was already coming. A Sathari fleet blinked into existence on the edge of planetary space, small, fast, and heavily cloaked. Stealth frigates, gunships, boarding pods, meant not to face armies, but to assassinate symbolism, to erase Earth's moment in history. Halvorsen limped over to the tactical station. "They're not broadcasting, not requesting parley. Straight for us." Aaliyah checked the comms array. "They've jammed all outbound frequencies again. This is a kill mission." Rena didn't flinch. "Then we hold the line." She turned to the others. "We don't fire first. We don't become what they want us to be. But if they open fire, we remind them why this ship was built." The bridge came alive as more volunteers filtered in. Not just Terrans. The Kalari technician ran ship diagnostics. An Andoran comms officer began unscrambling enemy signals. Even a wounded council guard took up position at the secondary shield controls. They weren't crew. They were believers. Survivors. Torchbearers. Outside, Sathari pods streaked toward them. Incoming ordnance. Multiple boarding vectors. Aaliyah called out. Halvorsen growled. "They're trying to cut their way in." Rena took the command, or began. "Shields up. Lock all access points. Non-lethal countermeasures. Vent plasma corridors. Deploy stun drones. We don't kill unless we must." The Iron Heart pulsed again. Its new captain understood the mission. All across the ship, steel groaned as systems activated. Defense nodes lit up. Automated turrets unfolded. The hull shimmered with a protective energy shield, impossibly strong, drawn from advanced gravitational fields. And then the Sathari made their mistake. They fired first. A single bolt of violet plasma struck the Iron Heart shields. A warning, a threat. But Rena Torres no longer played by their rules. Target their command ship. Disable weapons only. Fire. The Iron Heart responded like a living thing. From its dorsal cannon, a column of focused energy roared forward. It hit the Sathari command cruiser dead center, not to destroy, but to cripple. Lights aboard the enemy ship flickered and died. Power failed. The ship went dark. Across the stars, signals lit up. Civilizations were watching. The attack had been public. The defense had been clean. Controlled. Justified. On the bridge, breath returned. Aaliyah stared at the screen. "You just made history." "No," Rena said. "We just preserved it." She looked out the viewport at the stunned Sathari fleet, now hesitating. Earth wasn't supposed to win. Humanity wasn't supposed to survive this. And yet, there they stood, at the helm of a warship meant to control balance, now repurposed to protect truth. She turned to her crew. "Now, let's clean house.